As soon as you're born, they make you feel small by giving you no time instead of it all. Till the pain is so big, you feel nothing at all. A working class hero is something to be. A working class hero is something to be. They hurt you at home and they hate you at school. They hate you if you're clever and they despise a fool. Till you're so crazy you can't follow their rules. A working class hero is something to be. A working class hero is something to be. When they've tortured and scared you for 20 odd years, then they expect you to pick a career. When you can't really function, you're so full of fear. A working class hero is something to be. A working class hero is something to be. Keep you doped with religion and sex and TV, and you think you're so clever and classless and free, but you're still peasants as far as I can see. A working class hero is something to be. A working class hero is something to be. There's room at the top, they are telling you still, but first you must learn how to smile as you kill. If you want to be like the folks on the hill, a working class hero is something to be. A working class hero is something to be. If you want to be a hero, well, just follow me. If you want to be a hero, well, just follow me. Working Class Hero by John Lennon. Desire by desire, thought by thought, action by action, we create who we are, we uncreate who we are, we uncreate who we are, we create who we are. Yesterday, we have all unconsciously created fear in our personalities. Fear of failure. We've created sorrow. Sorrow of losing our attachments. We've created delusion. Delusion of what the purpose of living, family, work is. Today, we have to consciously create a personality which is free from fear, sorrow, and delusion. This is what Arjuna is suffering from. This is what Lord Krishna aspires to free him of. And the glory of Srimad Bhagavad Gita is that he is freed of that. There is hope, there is possibility, there is definitive experience showing that we can do this. This demands change. And if we don't change, fear, sorrow, and delusion will continue. Have no doubt about that. Guruji often shares, if you want to get what you never got, you have to do what you never did. And one of our yatris has recently written, let us begin the change to the changeless. Often, when I speak about yoga in audiences where they're not familiar with Vedanta, yoga is change in its most fundamental understanding. Yoga is change. And since we are such results-oriented people, if we tune in to all of the most noteworthy personalities that ever existed or are presently existing, they've all changed. They were here, and they brought themselves here. How? Change. Especially the happiest people. They weren't all happy before. They changed to be happy. We are exploring this inner transformation through holistic habits. And I say inner transformation because we often confuse habits as being outside of us. An alarm clock or biting one's nails. Yes, that's outside, but it only happens because of what's happening inside. Someone who bites their nails, do you think that they're really attracted to their fingers? That the taste of the skin or the nail or the dirt is good? It's what's happening inside, that thought, action, conditioning. So it's an inner transformation that needs to take place. A person is his or her habit. habits. And some habits handcuff us. I've said this every day now. One of our young adults somewhere in the world, as soon as he or she enters a bathroom, cannot leave for an hour, 2 hours. They miss out on school, miss out on retreats. This habit doesn't allow them to leave. Another one of our young adults somewhere in the world. And I now have to say somewhere in the world because when Swamiji was talking about that lady with those 2 sons, I know that family. So now I have to be more general about the examples I use. One of our young adults, whenever he or she gets into a car, begins chanting Hanuman Chalisa. That habit frees him or her. We are our habits. And since we are our habits, we have to be holistic in our approach to making habits, to breaking habits, to sublimating habits. And I say holistic because we're not just the body. We're not just the mind. We're not just the intellect. We are not just social beings. We're not just financial beings. We're not just spiritual beings. There is only living. So all the time, all places, we have to be vigilant of who we are. And remember, when I'm saying who we are, we have to be vigilant about our habits. The purpose of religion, as Pujya Gurudev teaches, is to know thyself. That is the purpose of religion. So when John Lennon talks about religion here, he's talking about that diluted, despondent form of religion. Not the religion that Swami Chinmaya teaches about. To know thyself. We are the self. The self is existence. Not just this body. We are that existence which is not born and that existence which cannot die. That's who we have to know ourselves to be. We are consciousness. We often think that, yeah, I'm conscious because I know. But when I'm unconscious, then that consciousness goes away. Or when I die, that consciousness will go away. Consciousness is that which enlivens us, which allows us to know and allows us to know what we don't know as well. It has nothing to do with what I can see and what I can't see. The self is joy. Not just experiences. I was on the yatra, I was happy. I had a good meal, I was happy. It's sunny outside, I'm happy. Our nature is joy. This is the purpose of religion, to know thyself. Not the superficial self, the substantial self. And everyone in this room, perhaps maybe not those who are coming to the retreat for the first time, already know this. We know this, but we don't live this. We have knowledge, but it's not been transformed into wisdom. We are Shrotriya, but we are not Brahmanishta. And I keep reiterating, Brahmanishta means to be established in Brahman. For you and I, aspiring to be established in Brahman is Brahmanishta. Trying to live this. The fundamental reason why we know this but don't live this is because we forget. It's that simple. Which is why there's such a strong encouragement to come to as many retreats as possible. 2009, we had 2 retreats. 10, 6, 11, 11. 12, we already have 12. There will be more. More retreats. Discussions. We had a handful in 2009. We had twice as many as that in 10. We had 19 last year. We hope to have 25 this year. Swadhyaya. Study. Read Manashodhanam, Vivek, take the online Gita course. We have to stop forgetting. If you talk to any of the yatris that were on the Chinmaya Inspiration Yatra, ask them when they felt or believed or lived most divinely. And I'm confident in saying while they were there, because they didn't have a chance to forget. The environment wouldn't let them forget that, and I certainly didn't let them forget that. So when we remember, we live. We forget, we discard. This is what Bhagavan Shri Krishna is teaching us in chapter 4 of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. In chapter 1, he told us who we are today. And he said, we are that Arjuna which dropped his Gandiva. In other words, stopped doing his duty. In other words, like in the Rocky movie, he threw in the towel. I will not fight. He quit. Fear of failure. Chapter 2, Lord Krishna tells him who he should be. The wise do not grieve. Chapter 3, Lord Krishna told him how to do it. This is where you are. This is where you should be. Now, if you practice karma yoga, you will be who you're supposed to be. You will know who you are, Arjuna. You will know that you're me. The only difference between Arjuna and Lord Krishna is one has knowledge and one doesn't. At the beginning of chapter 4, please read this starting tomorrow. Lord Krishna says, I taught this way back in the day. And the difference is that I remember and you don't. Because Arjuna calls him on that. How do you remember? We were born together. Lord Krishna says, because I remember and you forgot. That's what separates us. And so we're studying tips on how to practice karma yoga. This chapter is called Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga. In other words, tips on karma yoga. And we studied 12 tips together. Brahma Yajna, Deva Yajna, Brahma Yajna, Dravya Yajna, etc., etc. Then you came up with your own. Monam Yajna, Vichara Yajna. Everything can be a yajna. Signing up for the Gita course, doing the National Seva Project, getting up on time, respecting our mother and father, as Swamiji said. Everything can be a yajna. Studying for med school, that is a yajna too. The life lived filled with sacrifice leads one to the self. The life lived in selfishness leads to no success in the world or in the sacred world. No selfish person succeeds. Sacrifice is demanded. Any and all of these yajnas, and any yajna that one comes up with, is an aid to achieving the purpose of religion, which is to know thyself. And as Lord Krishna said, all of them are in the form of action. And I hope everyone understands the weightiness of this statement. You and I want to do. We are like Arjuna. We are Arjuna. Arjuna is a Kshatriya. He wants to be told what to do. That's why in meditation, in real meditation, first it's a series of actions. Relax the body, focus on the breath, listen to silence. And then what's the last step? As I taught last year, what was the last step in meditation? Step number 5? Enjoy or? Smile. Be. Just be. But that action leads me to actionlessness. When Swami Vivekananda first came to America, he taught yoga. He taught Vedantic yoga. And in that he said, you're not the body. And then he laughs and says, you're not even the mind either. But interestingly now, yoga is a $6 billion industry with endless mats and clothes and scents and lights and so on. Because we want to do. And that's okay, because it is only through doing we reach the state of not doing. So when Lord Krishna says all of these are a form of action, we should be so delighted that action will lead me to enlightenment. That we're eligible for this, that we can do this, that we're inclined to do this. At the same time, let us always remember that action is the means and not the destination. Action is like getting to the gate of What is the Chicago Bulls arena called? Key West. No. Right, the United Center. But you need that ticket to get in. Just because you got to the arena doesn't mean you get into the stadium. The ticket to get in is knowledge. Action is a means to getting to the gateway of enlightenment. After that, knowledge is the key that opens that gate. We have to know this, otherwise we'll get lost in action. Or we'll get lost in knowledge. But they have to be synthesized. And this knowledge is only given to a deserving student. When Gurudev was condemned for teaching the Upanishads and Gita in the public, in English to women, he told all of those orthodox priests and scholars, Mother Shruti, meaning the Vedas, meaning the Smriti, the Gita, she will teach who is supposed to be taught, and she will not teach who is not supposed to be taught. How? People will either not understand the idea or they'll be sleeping. And I took that very much to heart. When we were studying, then there was a certain portion where Guruji switched the morning discourse to after breakfast. And I did whatever I could to stay awake, but I couldn't stay awake. I just don't know why. I ate less, I slept lots, but I just could not stay awake for those 2 or 3 lectures. And I wasn't supposed to learn that. I wasn't supposed to understand that. I did everything to stay awake during those discourses, but only deserving students understand this. So knowing that, we're all thinking, okay, we can blame the knowledge, but actually, we should make ourselves deserving then. See, isn't that the tendency? This knowledge is biased. It can't come to me. Make yourself deserving then. Then the knowledge will come. The knowledge is not biased. We're biased. Some people choose it, some people don't. And the people that don't choose it call the other person racist or biased. Right? What kind of attitude is that? And again, sharing a personal experience about this that some of our yatris brought to my attention. When I went to the Mahasamadhi camp in 2008, I went as a camper. I went and I had to sign up my name and pay the registration fee, and I had my backpack, and I sat and did everything as a registrants did. And then in 2009, I got to be an organizer of the Mahasamadhi camp. Between Toronto and Niagara, we organized the Mahasamadhi camp. Then I was invited in 2011 to teach one lecture. 2010 in Los Angeles. Then 2011, I got to do a whole class. And now in 2012, now I'm one of the fundamental people involved in the 2012 Mahasamadhi camp. My point in all of this is that I worked to do that. I worked to be in this opportunity. We have 36 Acharyas in North America. I'm the youngest of all of them. And I didn't just come back and say, yeah, invite me. I deserve to be invited. One has to make themselves deserving to be invited for these opportunities. What Lord Krishna says is, through regular and sincere prostration, one deserves this knowledge. And as we mentioned yesterday, prostration symbolizes emptying oneself of wrong habits, wrong thinking, wrong attitudes, so that we can be filled with right habits, right thinking, right attitude. And as one young adult to another young adult, this is a poor habit we have to not prostrate to those whom we can learn from. Some of you know my cousin Vikas. Him, his younger brother, and his younger brother, they touch everyone's feet who is older than them. They just have that habit. And when they do, all of the people who are older than them, they're so happy and they always give all of them a hug. That is the blessing that one is talking about. We always think about some metaphysical blessing, but isn't love a blessing? That all of those people are so happy when they see young Canadians doing this. They would never think that, why would they do that? And we always think that, why should we do that? But understand, just like water flows from the higher to the lower, it's not higher to lower in one's status, it's higher to lower in one's knowing. This is a habit we should all think about Are we empty to be filled? If we're not empty, we won't be filled then. Lord Krishna says we should have and engage in a dialogue that's filled with analytical surrender. That I've thought about it, but I don't know, and I know you know. So I come to you. So I've thought about it first. That analytical surrender. We need to engage in this, and it demands full participation from our side. Full participation. That I have this doubt, and I will do what it takes to answer it myself. And when I can't, I know I have to come to you then. See, now we have Google. And everything comes to us so quickly, but everything leaves us so quickly too, doesn't it? For all of those who are studying or recently finished their studies, our education system is focused on short-term testing. If we all had an exam on Friday and everyone studied, we're Indians, we'd probably get 95 on it, right? But if the same test is given 24 hours later, that 95 will turn into a 55 because we just studied to get the mark, to get the degree, to get the letters, to get out. Short-term testing. That's what Google offers. And one of my batchmates had sent me an email saying he watched a Tamil movie where the villain and hero were in a dialogue, and the villain said to the hero, "I'm going to hit you so hard that even Google won't be able to find you." That's pretty clever. To bring this message alive, read. All of the answers that we need they've already been taught in the scriptures. How many people in this room, when they've had a question, if they thought about it a little bit more, it came in a quote or a message or an email or a discourse or whatever it is? Correct? We've all had that experience. This is what Lord Krishna is saying. Engage in that dialogue, but it starts here. Read. The answers are there. How many times on our trip to India recently, someone had said, you've heard the same question again and again and again. They're all the same questions. I met with every one of our yatris for a half an hour to an hour, and they all said the same thing. Same questions, same problems. And I was thinking, wow, I'm really patient. I spent 18 hours listening to the same question and giving the same answer. It's all in the scriptures. Read. The answers are there. And seva. Lord Krishna says, engage in seva. One will deserve knowledge. What this seva is tuning in to the teachings. Tuning in to the sampradaya. Tuning into the whole aura of learning. That's why Upanishad. Upanishad means sitting near and below. Why? Because that's how one is to learn. From the rishis, the shishas sitting at the rishis. That's what the actual title means. Sitting near and below. Seva is tuning in to the frequency that is ever present. When we were at the Overseas Acharyas Conference in 2009, Swami Sharananda was there too. That was a really special experience. Swami Dhirananda sat here. Swami Sharananda sat beside him, and I sat behind them. And Swami Sharananda and Swami Dhirananda have a wonderful relationship. And it's interesting because they're the exact opposite people, really. Swami Dhirananda, a little bit dark-skinned. Swami Sharananda, light-skinned. Swami Dhirananda, lots of hair. Swami Sharananda, no hair. Swami Dhirananda, very eloquent with his English. Swami Sharananda, very loving with his English. But such joy in the way that they would play with each other. So what am I talking about right now? You're right, at the Overseas Acharyas Conference. And Guruji had said, 60% of his time goes in follow-up. In other words, administration. Imagine one who's capable of teaching the Brahma Sutras, yet 60% of his time goes in administration, follow-up. That hurts one. When one knows the capacity of a teacher and they have to engage in that, that's hurtful. And that's why real seva for us is those who can teach, do whatever it takes to allow them to teach. It's like a nurse to a physician, right? To a surgeon. That surgeon is the one who can operate on the veins or the bones or the brain. So the nurse's job is to make sure that surgeon only has to do that. Doesn't have to be concerned about cleaning this or getting this or looking at this monitor. Correct? Dental hygienist versus a dentist. The same thing goes. Our seva should be, you teach. We'll do everything else. And not even the head of Chinmaya Mission is still engaged in so much of that which he shouldn't have to do. We need to tune into that seva. That's real seva. It's like teaching. Someone who teaches what they want to teach is not a good teacher. Someone who teaches what the student needs to learn is a good teacher. A good sevak is one who does what needs to be done, not what they want to do. See the tuning, see the emptying of the ego, so one can be filled up with that divinity. And the deserving will be taught. It is natural for someone who knows to teach someone who doesn't know. It is a great joy for a teacher to be with an enthusiastic, capable student. It is such a joy. Imagine a coach finding a great soccer player, a great football player. Imagine Ramakrishna Paramahansa, who started crying when Swami Vivekananda came, not as Swami Vivekananda, as Narendra. He started crying and said, "What took you so long? I waited so long for you." That's the joy that a teacher experiences when there's a deserving student. And once this is known, once one knows who they are, they never forget. They are who they are, and all that remains is pure love then. They love themselves, they love everyone else, they love Lord Krishna. There is just love. What is Bhagwan? What is God? What is Brahman? What is the divine? Love. That's all that remains. That's all that can remain when everything else gets burned down. Just love. Now, as we're listening to these shlokas, some of us may be thinking, we don't deserve this knowledge, that we have such indulgent habits, that we are sinners. So we're never going to understand this. We don't deserve it. And so for the next shloka, I want you to pay close attention. One of our CHYKs who I met in Chicago was confused, was down, was lost. And the first statement I made to him, and I never met him before either, I told him was, every saint was a sinner. Because that's the framework with which this person was thinking. That he can't grow. And that was the first statement I made. And now I just found out that his father was saying he finished another semester of school. He's reading Gurudev's Gita on a regular basis. This shloka is for him. This shloka is for all of us. Shloka 36 on page 77. Can you pass some of your books forward to our high school students, please? Okay. I'll chant each pada, each quarter. You repeat, and then we'll chant together. Page 77. Api chedasi papebhyah sarvebhyah papakrittamah sarvam jnanaplavenaiva vrijinam samtarishyasi api chedasi papebhyah sarvam jnanaplavenaiva vrijinam samtarishyasi. And Lord Krishna definitively says, even if you are papa krittamaha. Even if you are the most sinful of all sinners, you shall verily cross all sins by the raft of knowledge. So even if you're the most indulgent person, the most selfish person, if we are the most ignorant person, still, with knowledge, one will cross over that limitation. And the only way is knowledge. Because knowledge doesn't focus on the sins, knowledge focuses on the sinner. Knowledge doesn't focus on the symptoms, knowledge focuses on the disease. If the disease we're suffering from is ignorance, what can be the only cure to ignorance? Knowledge. How can there be any other cure? It is only knowledge. Whenever we have a physical problem, suppose there's a sliver in my hand. If I just look at my hand and imagine that sliver will go away, will it go away? No, someone has to physically remove that. If I have an anger problem and I start washing my hands a lot, or if I start counting my breath, counting to 10, etc., is my anger going to go away? It's not. It's a mental problem. There's no connection there. We have physical problems and we think we'll cure it with the mind. We have mental problems we think we'll cure it with the body. There's no connection there. If ignorance is the disease, knowledge is the cure. And to bring this to home, if I have cancer and I keep on going through treatments of different sources, will the cancer go away? Possibly. It could possibly go away and come back. But if they cut the cancer out, they take away the disease itself, the actual source, can cancer remain there then? It can't. This is what knowledge does. Straight to the source. And many of us think that it's not possible to be spiritual. Many of us think we can't be enlightened. And since we feel we can't do that, or it'll take many lifetimes, it's given a second priority. Just now I was talking to some of our CHYKs who say, we love doing japa, but it always becomes a second priority. We love the peace that comes in japa, but we forget about it. As you think, so you become. If we think we can't be spiritual, how do you think we'll ever be spiritual? If we think we're not going to get enlightened, do you think that we'll rise up to get enlightened then? It's very simple. Lord Krishna has endorsed the worst person will cross over being the worst through knowledge. So everyone in this room, when we're asked, will you be born again? Say no. I will invoke knowledge and I will not be born again. I will not be born into limitations. I will be free. Lord Krishna has put his endorsement there, and Guruji had shared with us, no word, not even a single letter in Gita is in vain. So if it's said there, who are you and I to doubt otherwise? That shows how much we need to empty ourselves, that we would deny this, that we would doubt this. That means we're greater than Lord Krishna. We should touch your feet, whoever's thinking that then. Lord Krishna said it, done. So next time when someone says, who's getting realized? Who's getting realized? Very interesting self-help group, right? And Bhagavan Shri Krishna continues to explore the idea of the greatness of knowledge. And he gives us a metaphor here so that we never forget. Problem is forgetting, so he's helping us not to forget. Shloka 37 on page 79. Yate damsi samiddhognihi Bhasmasat kurute Arjuna. Jnanagni sarva karmani. Bhasmasat kurute tatha. Yathedamsi samidhognihi. And Lord Krishna says here, just as a fire turns all of the fuel that goes into that fire into ashes, O Arjuna, the fire of knowledge burns down all actions. Were any of you at the 2008 Yamunotri camp? At the Yamunotri camp? Okay. I'm talking about the Balavihar camp, not the CHYK camp. Yeah? Okay. That was the first camp that I came to for in Chicago after the Vedanta course. And I taught the grade 5, 6, and 7s on the 24 gurus. Lord Dattatraya's 24 gurus. And when we studied the fire, what we Balavihar students understood was, if you put gold into fire, what happens to that gold? A hot fire. It gets burned down into ash based on a really hot fire. If you put garbage into fire, what does it turn into? Ash. It doesn't matter what goes into fire, it turns it into ash. That which is pure, that which we take and we put on our forehead, which we put on our body, bhasma. In the exact same way, knowledge takes all actions and burns it down. Makes that to such an extent of purity that it no longer affects us. That's bad karmas, bad actions, good karmas, good actions, indifferent karmas, indifferent actions. Everything is burned down. Sanchita, prarabdha, agami. Sanchita karma is all of the karmas that we've done in the past. Prarabdha is everything that we're doing now. Agami is what will come, what we're producing. All of that is burned down. And putting it in a more tangible way, if I have a debt, I owe $150,000 to whomever, a loan shark, and I die, then that file is closed then. I'm an only person, I have no family, etc., etc. That file is closed. That's what knowledge does to action. Now, the actions that I'm doing right now, since my roots are cut off, whatever this expression is, it just has to keep on going. And when this energy in this car stops, this will stop too. Like a car where you're driving and then you shut the car off and you don't hit the brake. The car will eventually stop. It just has to exhaust all of that momentum it has. And the beautiful part of agami karma, for those who have studied Tattva-bodha, which you did in Chicago, correct? And in Toronto, etc. For one who is a realized soul, all of the actions they do that are good, all of the results of that go to their devotees, to those who respect him or her. And all of the results that are bad, that are negative, go to those who disrespect him or her, those who have animosity towards that person. I thought that was so amazing that Adi Shankaracharya wrote this in Vivekji and Tattva-bodha, because it shows not only the spiritual benefit one gets in being in the company of a master, but even that tangible benefit. Like I was saying about washing the plates of a master, you incur all of that good karma. See, it's all logical. It's all stated in our scriptures. The point is, everything gets burned with knowledge. Because actions are sourced from desire, from ignorance. Ignorance, desire, thoughts, actions. But when with knowledge there, ignorance is burned. So everything else has to end too. And the concluding verse we will study for our Holistic Habits Retreat is a famous shloka, which Lord Krishna is big on, which Gurudev is big on. And if you all turn around to the back, it's right beside Tapavan Maharaj as well. That was the secret. What is knowledge? This is what knowledge is. So we're on Shloka 38 on page 80. Nahi jnanena sadrisham pavitram iha vidyate tat swayam yoga samsiddhaha kalenatmani vindati nahi jnanena sadrisham Do you have your CHYK camp book with you? Someone just raised it in the air, please. The back page. See that? It's a lamp, though it looks like the Chicago Bulls sign. Underneath in Sanskrit is that this first line of this shloka. So now you know where it's connected. Brahmarpanam came from this chapter. Jnana Yajna came from this chapter. Vach saying came from this chapter. This is what Gurudev writes in his commentary on this shloka. First of all, the translation is, there is no purifier in this world like knowledge. And the person who is engaged in yoga, they get that knowledge in time. This is what Gurudev writes. So glorious is the result of self-realization that Lord Krishna explodes in enthusiasm and cries, "Verily, there exists nothing in this world more noble and sacred than self-knowledge. Just as to a drowning man there is nothing more precious than a life belt, so too, to the deluded ego there cannot be a greater possession and a nobler endeavor than the acquisition of knowledge of its or his own real nature." In other words, self-knowledge is the knowledge, is the priority, is the boss. Self-knowledge is the boss. Knowing this, we have to expose ourselves to self-knowledge. And that's why I'm so happy when I see people who put their hand up when asked this is their first CHYK retreat. Expose oneself to self-knowledge. Understand self-knowledge. Continue with the discussions. Live self-knowledge. Eating, breathing, exercising. These holistic habits, these yajnas. The end of evolution cannot be a casual affair. Isn't that a strong thought? This is the end of evolution, is realization. You can't get more evolved than that. That is the end. Do we really think that this is a casual affair? Casual efforts will do to end evolution? Hence, perfect oneself in yoga, change. Engage in yajna, holistic habits. Remember what is being shared. And how long will this take? Lord Krishna says, Kalena, in time. In time this will happen. Who decides how long it'll take? We do. Like I said about the deserving student, the more deserving we make ourselves, the more quickly, the more deeply that knowledge will take place, the happier we'll be. I'm sure we've been in a position, or we instigated that position, we're in a relationship and that person says, I can't be with you today, but I see myself with you in the future, right? That's a major lie from that person's end, and anyone who believes that wasn't thinking. That's like me saying, I want to be happy tomorrow, but not today. They're exactly the same. So if you want to be happy tomorrow and not today, then engage in such relationships. We have to be regular and sincere. Today, realization will be there tomorrow. Regularity, sincerity. One of our chicks had asked me if he or she is doing their sadhana right. And even before he or she was going to say anything, and they started speaking before I did, and when they concluded, I said, all I wanted to hear was sincerity. Any form of quantity is not relevant. It is the quality with which one engages in what they do, that is sadhana. Same goes with how long we will take to have that knowledge take root. In that sincerity, what we will find is that knowledge comes from within. As Socrates taught Dan, all of those answers are in yourself. As I shared in our guided meditation yesterday, when Lord Krishna embraces one, we disappear. When that drop hits the ocean, that drop disappears. When Mirabai devoted herself to Lord Krishna, limitations disappear then. Fear, sorrow, delusion, that can't remain then. This is all within ourselves. So be a yogi. Be that yatihi, that person who's striving. Be that neophyte. Like in the you're a CHYK one. Yes, I will like you more if you try to be neo. Be that aspirant. Be that seeker. And in being X, one will eventually realize that one is just being. That is our nature. Just be. Inspire, love, be. And throughout this journey, have faith. There's a few more shlokas which we won't study, but one of them is Shraddhavan labate jnanam. The person with faith deserves knowledge. Have faith, and the first direction where faith has to be is here. If I lose faith in the country, so be it. I can move. If I lose faith in my family, so be it. I can have other friends. If I lose faith in Bhagwan, that's all right too. I don't need Bhagwan. I can focus on people. If I lose faith in my guru, that's fine too. I can have faith in the scriptures. But if I lose faith in myself, where am I going to look to then? Have faith in oneself. Swami Vivekananda has shared, the only atheist is the one who doesn't believe in himself or herself. Right? If I'm Bhagwan and I don't believe in myself, then I don't believe in Bhagwan. Have faith. And Lord Krishna in Shloka 40 then says, the person who doesn't have faith is unhappy in this world, is unhappy in the next world. Have you been in a relationship where you question the other person's loyalty? That's not a relationship. Have you been in a business in India? When you go to India and there's not fixed pricing, right? Don't you feel less at ease if, hey, that person may be ripping me off? It's not even about the money, it's about being ripped off. Less at ease, right? The person who doesn't have faith doesn't succeed in this world, certainly doesn't succeed in the next world. And with this faith, actions do not bind one. That is the message of Shloka 41. One is free. We act for happiness. The master acts out of happiness. That is such a beautiful shift. And being a beggar and being a giver. One is for, one is out of. And the final message, the final word of this chapter is Uttishta Bharata. Stand up, Bharata. Bharata means the one who's illumined with knowledge. Stand up. Here the idea is stand up because you're sitting in the chariot. There's a war to be fought. You have to stand up for dharma. For you and I, it's stand up and face ignorance. And like Ramana Maharshi says, as soon as we face ignorance, ignorance has to go. It can't stay. It's impossible. We're Bharata. We're of the nature of knowledge. How can ignorance remain there? So stand up, Bharata. Stand up, and instead of Bharata, put your name there. This is the message of these select shlokas from chapter 4. This is the message of holistic habits. This is the message that we have to remember. This is the message that we have to